Well, hi, my name is Jimmy Sabatino. I'm running for Luzerne County Council. Um, I guess the major question that everybody asks is, why am I running? Um, it's it's for me, it's a personal thing. Uh, I feel like I offer a unique perspective to the county council, being that a lot of different a lot of different perspectives crossroad through me. I am openly gay. Um, I am a small business owner. I'm a first generation American. And those are some voices that have been severely lacking on the county council. One of the things my grandparents and my mom have taught me, being immigrants to the United States, is that we are obligated to contribute back to our community. And I feel like this is my way to bring a unique perspective to the county council and fulfill that obligation to our community. A little bit about me and my family. My grandparents and my mom emigrated here in March of 1975. They opened the pizzeria in Hazleton, Vesuvio's in Hazleton, in November of 75. And that restaurant has been in the same location for the last 46 years. It'll be 46 years in November. I was born in Hazleton. I briefly lived in California with my parents until they got divorced, came back here, attended Drexel University, well, Bishop Afey High School, Drexel University. My brother wanted to branch out and open up his own restaurant in 2006. And my mom basically said, you have to have your brother help you. It has to be a family thing. You know, you can't do it all on your own. So I came back from Philadelphia in 2006, and we opened up our Drums location in December of 2006. And it's been there it'll be 15 years in December. 2012, we branched out again to open in Wilkes-Barre. So it's 9.5 years that we're in Wilkes-Barre. We are really fortunate that my aunts wanted to keep the family business in the family. So they offered us to buy it the original location last year. So we purchased the original location, the family homestead, in May of 2020.
Okay. Where did your family emigrate from back in the 70s?
Naples, Italy.
Okay. All right. We'll move on to some questions now, if
Okay.
that's okay with you. One question that has come up and always comes up when there's a county council race is a discussion of how the council is organized and whether it should have at least some seats elected by ward. I think especially some folks from southern Luzerne County sometimes seem to think that they don't get proper representation. What's your take on that? Should it stay at large? Would wards make sense?
I think that wards maybe keep some at large and have some elected by wards, but it has to be done in a very fair way, like no gerrymandering in it. It has to be an independent commission. Maybe the elections board would have some say in what the wards would be. I think that there is not enough representation from the South, and I'm not here to be a guy that's from Hazleton saying Hazleton deserves this and that, but I think another voice from Hazleton area that is boots on the ground every day on Wyoming Street is not necessarily a bad thing for the county council at this point. I mean, there are a lot of infrastructure problems in the southern end of the county, like the roads. Most of the county roads at this point are in the southern end of the county, and they get neglected. I know there's a road in Hollenbeck Township that really severely needs to be done. And as a person who made the promise to visit every municipality before the election, and I've been to 73 out of 76 of them at this point, I see some of the disparities between even the rural areas and the urban areas. And I think having some dedicated representation for those areas is not necessarily a bad thing.
Jimmy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi, my name is Eric Mark. I'm a county beat reporter. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty. I think that I'm in the meeting now.
Okay, no problem.
Well, you're on, Eric.
I have to, sorry?
You have a question?
Yeah, I was just going to say I apologize because I don't know if this has been asked before.
Mhm.
But because I missed the first few minutes. But I was just wondering, do you have any thoughts on the county charter and whether or not it should be amended anyway?
I feel like the county charter is a living document and it should be used in a way that it is in the best interest of the people. If there is an amendment that somebody wants to propose, I would give it full consideration. There are, I guess, to dovetail into the previous question, maybe there are some changes that need to be made in like the number of county council members and what areas they represent, and should there be some at large and some that represent set areas. And I don't think that there's anything that I would discount from it, but at the moment, I think we just need to clean up like the administrative code a little bit and focus on making the government more efficient for county residents.
When you talked about the administrative code, is there something in particular that you think is not working?
Well, I think some of the job descriptions could be better fleshed out, and people should know what they are responsible for. And as a small business owner, we are very specific in what we want people to do and in their roles when they are hired to work for us. And I think there's some overlap and some crisscrossing that generates some confusion amongst some of the county administrators. And I think giving them a better defined job description, which Linda Hawk has been working on for many, many months now. And knowing that she's termed out, should I win in November, I would actually ask her for help in continuing that role as helping to clean up the county code and make it, more accessible to the layperson and understandable for people in those roles.
Talked about some confusion and maybe cross purposes in county government. One of the big controversies now is over this district attorney's race where you have the county DA and the county council suing the election board over this decision as to whether to hold a special election. What would have been your position on that lawsuit had you been on the council when it came up?
I really don't have any comment on that right now. I don't want to take a position on something that I have no control or say in. I don't think it's for me to say at this point what the county council should have done or done better.
One of the big decisions that the next council is going to face is hiring a new county manager. What would you be looking for in the next county manager?
I would be looking for somebody who can manage the 1,500 employees that the county has in an efficient manner. One of the things that I want to do is generate different ways of saving money and raising money. And one of those ways would be to make offices work more efficiently, kind of like a small business. The county manager has to be a person who is steadfast in their beliefs as a county manager and not afraid to say to the council, this is what I believe we should do. And these are the reasons why we should do it. I want somebody who's going to, if I have a difference of opinion with them, educate me on what their thought process is on getting to that point. I want somebody who's open to dialogue. I want somebody who would be steadfast in their beliefs and at keeping the best interests of the county residents at heart.
What do you think about the process? I mean, it took quite a long time just to name a search committee because of some of the questions about who could serve and who couldn't serve. Do you think the process is taking too long to fill that spot?
I don't think there should be any rush to fill the county manager position. I mean, the county is a large employer for this area, and we need to make sure that we get the right person for that job. I think it should be a slower process. I think Acting County Manager Crocomo is doing a great job of holding down the fort until we find somebody, whether it be her or any of the other people who are interested in the job, we find the right person for that job, because this is a very serious decision that we have to make. As for the selection committee, I have listened to all the meetings since about this time last year, so to familiarize myself, and I think cleaning up the administrative code and making it better defined, like that is one of the ways that we can make the county government more efficient. Like, it's set in the administrative code that the selection committee is this number of people, and it's going to be hard to get everybody to agree on it, but maybe flushing it out before we have a need for it, it will make county government run smoother in the future.
There was a recent proposal that has been tabled, but it's still part of the debate, and I'm sure will not go away, over whether the county should require employees to be vaccinated, and if not vaccinated, if granted an exemption, have to be tested. What's your position on that?
I strongly believe that we should be following the CDC guidelines and just keeping up with what the federal government is briefing us on what to do. As a person who has been vaccinated, the simplest way for all of us to get out of it is if you're able to get the vaccine and it doesn't conflict with your beliefs, then get the vaccine. But there's no way out of this unless we all work together at this point.
I don't want to monopolize all the questions, so Jim or
One thing that I saw on your website, and again, forgive me if you've already gotten to this before I joined the call, but you mentioned that you think the county needs a smaller or a different correctional facility, and one way to go about achieving that would be to maybe de-emphasize some minor offenses and locking people up for, on your site. I'm just wondering if you could expound on that and maybe some of the specifics you think that, that could happen.
Well, I think that the prison does definitely need to be looked at to be a more efficient space. Some of the offenses that, some of the specific offenses that I would decriminalize are, or ask the DA to decriminalize, because county council doesn't have that oversight, but maybe decriminalize minor marijuana possession. I mean, the wave of the future is that marijuana is probably going to be legalized in the next 10 years across the state, and if not just the state, the country. So minor offenses like minor non-violent offenses like that would not be something that I'd want somebody to be incarcerated for. But getting back to the correctional facility, I mean, right now our correctional facility is old and inefficient. The heating and cooling costs of that facility are staggering, and it could be a way that we could save some money and pay it forward to the future by looking for a site in maybe an industrial park out far away from residential zones, not in a spot in downtown that could be used for tourism along the river and things like that. But maybe there's something to be said that we should try and get the site that Retreat is on, which is already a prison, and maybe tear it down and build a nice wagon wheel style, which will allow for a more efficient use of staffing, which right now the prison staff is overworked and they are stressed to the max, trying to keep things going on a multiple level prison, like multiple floor prison, but maybe having a centralized, the wagon wheel style. And I've spoken to somebody who was a correctional officer for many years. He said that would be the most efficient use of our resources at this moment, is to redo the prison in a way that makes the staffing more efficient.
I'd be interested in your take on how the county has handled this children and youth issue with the resignation of the director. It appears that several other high administrators have been suspended. Complaints of abuse seem to have been ignored, hundreds of them, in fact. Um, what's your take on that situation, and what can the council do to address that?
I think, like earlier, you mentioned the county manager selection. I think that's a great way to address problems like this. I also think that if the allegations of wrongdoing, the hundreds of allegations, like you said, are true, those people should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. I have the utmost faith in the Attorney General's office to do this investigation. And beyond that, County Council just needs to be more vigilant to what's going on and making sure that the people that we put in those positions and trust with our children and youth are the right people for that job.
Are there any council members that you would aspire to emulate? I think I've seen your name actually on some of the county calls, so I know that you've. Is there anyone that you wanted to point to as someone that you would say this person could be a good leader? Because Tim McGinley is not going to be the chair next year, so I'm just
okay. So there are two different questions, I suppose. Like, one is who would I want to emulate? Personally, I have an affection for former county council member Rick Williams. His independent streak of being a fair and just decision maker is something that I would aspire to. He's a genuine person. He had the county's best interest at heart when he was on the county council, and he still is very active and has been a close friend and mentor to me over the last couple months. And I appreciate all the help that he's been giving me and insight into how the county government works. As for county chair, county council chair, I mean, it's really open to whoever in that moment, depending on what the composition of the council is, I think is the best person for the job. It's a serious job and it needs to be taken seriously. And Mr. McGinley has done a wonderful job of doing it over the last few years. And I mean, it would be a great loss to the county if he wasn't around. Well, if he chose to step down, but I would be open to seeing who would want the position and try to make the best decision from that.
I wanted to ask you about the election office and how that is being run right now. There's been a lot of issues from the tossed ballots to the labeling issue in the primary. Just kind of what your take on everything that's going on there. And do you have any concerns going into the general election in November?
I really don't have any concerns. I think the office has been well run considering all the pressure that it's under to do things. We do have an independent election board that does oversee like the election counting and results. And I have faith in the people that the county council has chosen to be on that board. I think the office is getting a lot of stress from outside politics. And I think that the elections office and the elections board should be apolitical.
Does anybody have any others?
No.
Well, I guess we're out of questions.
Okay.
Well, I had one more. I'm sorry. I had one more question, and I just wanted to ask you if you wouldn't mind. County Council has approved quite a few tax breaks. Some people put it in terms of LERTAs and AOZs for different developers coming in here, mainly building warehouses, a lot of manufacturing jobs. Would you support the continuing use of those LERTAs and those tax abatement programs? Do you have any thoughts on that subject?
I do actually. Go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I just said some of those now are in Hazleton.
I do have some thoughts on it. I think it would have to be done on a case-by-case basis. I think that if you're a person or an entity that is delinquent in your taxes to begin with, you shouldn't get any sort of tax abatement for the future. But if you were somebody, say like the nuclear power plant, who has a long-term commitment to this area and is in the top 20 for employers in the county, and you want a tax abatement on the data facility, I would be open to considering it depending on what the terms of it are. So really, it has to be done on a case-by-case basis. You can't judge every single LERTA as a blanket issue. Like one of the things that I would want to do is really examine what type of business is coming into the area and what contribution are they going to give to our workforce, and are they going to bring us permanent residents, or are they going to be gone in a couple of years and we're just out of that tax revenue. But a focus on maybe LERTAs for long-term small businesses in the area might be something that we can examine over the course of my term in office. As a person who has had a small business, whose family has had a small business in the county for 46 years, maybe if you hit 25 years, you get a 5% tax break, which goes a long way to showing that we support the small businesses and that they are the backbone of this community. So LERTAs can be used in very varying ways, and there's no set term to each LERTA. It's just that it's a very time-consuming aspect of being on county council. So that's one of the things that I focused on as a person who's running for that office to prepare for. So to me, it's a case-by-case thing, and maybe it can be used to help small businesses in the future.